attendance and buffer zone. It is like we have integrated a buffer zone to prevent small breaks that employees generally take. Like suppose main this is the main building of our college. Canteen is outside. So some faculty or some student is like hanging out in the canteen. We have to prevent that. To prevent that, we are using buffer zone. The app also handles the leave request and offsite request. The streamlining the whole process within one single app. Also, an administrative dashboard is present that helps the super admin to streamline all the process and monitor all the employees currently.
You must be having the flow chart of your proposed method. From that you can explain.
Yes, ma'am. So here is the login. Then moving on to the landing page, there are two methods. One is for on-site, other one is for off-site. On-site, first of all, there is the geofence check. Geofence is basically a virtual fence, like the app currently that we are developing. In that, I have used a 200-meter virtual fence present on Google Maps cloud that is synced with our app continuously using internet to make it visible. Otherwise, using GPS, the app is functioning properly. So first of all, geofences check is done. Next, we are using Wi-Fi check. Wi-Fi check is for like someone who is using a fake GPS app or a anti-GPS spoofing method to take his location into the college. So to prevent that, if we use Wi-Fi check, then he has to connect to the Wi-Fi of the college, and then he can be marked physically. The Wi-Fi will work in such a way, like the Wi-Fi has an SSID and BSSID. BSSID is the MAC address of the Wi-Fi router, and it cannot be changed anytime. Like not possible, it remains the same always. So we make a pair of SSID and BSSID, store it in a database, and all the routers, all the pairs are stored in the database. And if the employee connects to any one of the Wi-Fi routers in the college or in the office, then the second parameter of attendance is completed. Third is finally face verification, so that proxy cannot be done, and not just simple face verification. We are using live face recognition. Like the person has to show his face to the video. Then using R cascades, we will first of all capture the face, and using tensor.
What happens if someone is showing the photograph of some particular person?
Ma'am, then it cannot be like we have to move the face. We are using this.
Move the face.
Right now. That's why we are saying live face verification.
Like from the various places you can generate the video also, you must be knowing.
Ma'am, yes, today now I know deepfakes are coming, and to prevent that also, in the future scope, we have added like the cameras in the offices. They will also be linked to the app in future scope, so that they can be monitored anytime. So that also.
So because this is very important to data augmentation, you can create various images and you can create live video.
Yes. And next, face verification is done, and then finally the check-in is recorded and sent to the cloud database, and then to the admin dashboard to generate reports. The offsite method is a bit different. First of all, offsite employee has to first of all, like his manager only is sending him to another office for any work. Without any approval he cannot go. So to streamline this, we use the offsite form. First of all, he has to fill the form, send it to the HR. And in the form, for what purpose, which office, like a list of offices will be there, like the headquarters or sub headquarters, anything like that, and under which manager he is going. That also has to be specified. And after that, it is sent to the database and rerouted to the same app in the HR interface. The HR also will be using the same app but with a different interface. Then the HR will manage if he has to go or not, and the same response will be rerouted back to the employee. And then HR approval is done. After that, he will go to the offsite location. Offsite location, he has to do manual checking, for which we are using reverse geocoding. Now, reverse geocoding basically is converting the coordinates into human readable address. For this, we are using Google Maps API. The person's at present coordinates will be scanned, sent to the database, and the database will check for nearby landmarks. And like suppose
Have you deployed this model anywhere?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, the on-site part is done. The geofence is working, Wi-Fi check is working. We are currently working on face verification. After that, we will work on the outside.
What are the limitations of this proposed model where you are failing?
Currently, the model is so big, that's why it's taking time. Not facing any issue till now. Considering the security and privacy issues, we are using global face verification. We are integrating the face module within the app itself. So there is no internet required to run it. And that in that way, the person's data will be stored on his phone itself. And if we are suppose sending any data, then it will be send it to HTTPS encrypted communication.
And thank you. Good job. What is your paper ID?
194.
Thank you.
Now invite paper ID 442 RMN Mark.
Hello. Good morning, respected jury and my fellow researchers. I am Ariman Mathur and I am here to present my paper titled Cyber Shield for SMEs. My aim through this research is to address the growing cybersecurity concerns for small and medium enterprises using an affordable and intelligent AI-based framework. So, introduction. Cyber threats are no longer exclusive to large enterprises. SMEs are now prime targets for cyber attacks and because of their low defenses, yet most don't adopt frameworks like ISO or NIST due to the cost, complexity or the expert interpretation. This research proposes Cyber Shield, a lightweight, intelligent cybersecurity framework that provides real-time threat detection, behavior, anomaly monitoring, and automated incident mitigation, all designed for SMEs in mind. A few major insights from the literature survey are AI-powered detection reduces cyber risk significantly, automated incident response improves reaction times, existing frameworks like ISO or IEC are too complex for SMEs. CyberShield addresses the research gap by offering a simplified and effective solution. CyberShield uses a simple methodology. Have I been on API for breach detection, isolation forest for anomaly detection, and automated actions like MFA all are validated in a sandbox or a secured SME simulation environment. The workflow diagram, it shows how CyberShield processes data. It takes from breaches and behavior monitoring to automated responses. The architecture supports continuous learning and it is scalable. One of the few of the key features are it is a scalable architecture. It has phishing awareness training for the employees. It has an automated incident response. It is an AI-driven anomaly detection, and it has real-time dark web monitoring from the use of Have I Been Born API because it checks all the breach details or credentials which have been pointed towards the dark web. CyberShield achieved 70% faster response, 85% risk reduction, and it has an overall 90% model accuracy. CyberShield proves that automated AI-based security is feasible for SMEs' future enhancement, which include some blockchain identity protection and security information and event management integration for the future.
Okay, so you have used some, I have seen that isolation forest somewhere. What is isolation forest? I have never heard this word. How does it work? Machine learning model, isolation.
It is a machine learning model which is used for unsupervised or unlabeled data, which are generally found in SMEs small medium enterprises. So it is easy to work on that to
How does
detect.
it work? Any idea? Isolation forest. What is the like how you are getting the input and how does it work? Which kind of features they are restricting? Because I have never heard this word isolation forest. Random forest is there. In unsupervised learning, I never heard this word. Is it okay? Is it isolation forest only or something else?
It is isolation forest only. I have imported it from Python library
Right. You
only.
are using the library.
Yes.
So did you try another unsupervised learning methods also for this other than isolation forest?
I wanted to use this only
Why?
because it is majorly used for unlabeled or smaller data sets. If I have to use for large enterprises, I would have used deep learning or
What
another.
are the other unsupervised machine learning techniques other than isolation forest? Just tell me the name of the unsupervised learning techniques.
I don't
No
know.
idea. Okay, thank you.
Now I would like to invite paper ID 468 Aditya Goyal.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I, Aditya Ghosh, the representative of my group, I am very honored to have all of you present my talk at paper Smart Mirror. With the increasing amount of smart technology in our life, the smart mirror is a perfect fit. It doesn't take much from your life, it doesn't give too much in your life. It just makes your daily life a little more accessible. The smart mirror works on very small hardware like a two-way mirror, LCD display, a Raspberry Pi that takes information from the internet and displays on your LCD screen, and a power cord. The hardware is limited to this much only, so it is basically accessible to all. The real magic comes in when we use the software. This entire project is built on Python and its libraries. GUI is built on Tkinter, the weather update. It presents in much data like weather updates, news headlines, time, date, through the can. So when you it is really part of life when we visit our mirror to make our hair, set our hair, dress up. So we can also see many useful information while we are looking in the mirror. The user interface design is very minimal and accessible, and it also allows the user to add and remove things at the same time while having, if he doesn't have knowledge for the code, he can even add things, and the model is so basic that it can that the more advanced stuff can be added into the future. The project itself in it is not that much, but the idea of the smart mirror is very huge, as it can revolutionize the textile industry and your daily lives.
Move on. That's all.
Next slide.
So what is novelty in your mirror, like smart mirror? What is novelty? What extra feature you have added?
For reference, I personally haven't added an extra feature like, but here is on my project, you can find much more and much less on any other design. The thing is that I wanted to try this project. I wanted to see what the smart design is like, the innovation is like. I wanted to try it myself, that is why I picked this project.
Okay, thank you.
Now I would like to invite paper ID 394 Varun Singh and his team to present.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Purun Singh Bish, and today I am excited to present our work on designing edge architecture for underwater sensors networks to enable a real-time data processing in extreme environments. Underwater sensor networks play a critical role in oceanography, climate monitoring, and underwater exploration. However, the harsh and energy constrained underwater environments possess significant challenges, especially for real-time data transmission and processing. In this present, I will talk about the process edge computing architecture designed specially for underwater networks. This system aims to minimize the latency, improve energy efficiency, and enable intelligent data processing closer to the source, even in the extreme insensible underwater conditions. Let's start. Underwater sensor networks consist of sensors and autonomous underwater vehicles that monitor underwater environments. They are essential for climate monitoring, underwater exploration, military surveillance, etc. While doing this research, we face some challenges like low bandwidth, high latency, energy constraints, and harsh conditions are like increase in pressure, corrosion, biofouling, and damage sensors of degrade performance. Need of edge architecture. Because of these challenges, relying on cloud-based processing is impractical. These are unreliable, they have delayed processing, real-time needs decisions. The solution is the edge computing because the latency is very less, bandwidth usage drops, and it improves the energy efficiency. While doing this research, there are some research gaps like surface level relay dependence. Most existing UWNS push raw sensor data to chips and surface before and real processing happens. These two steps are first from underwater node and second adds both time and energy overhead. So our objective is to design and implement an edge computing architecture that overcomes the shortcomings like local data processing, low latency decision making, energy efficient communication, and reliance to harsh conditions, and scalable and modular design. The results are we have 45% faster response time compared to traditional surface relay systems, and we increases 30% battery life and found 60% of improvement throughout our data.
So your paper ID is 394? So you have worked on edge computing, you know? You have improved the parameters like you have done the low latency, you have saved the energy, you know? So can you tell me what is edge computing? What do you mean by edge computing? You have used edge computing now? And, what do you mean by edge computing? Chalo, okay, no problem. So you have this results in which software you have to get this results? Which software you have?
Raspberry Pi.
Huh?
Um,
Raspberry Pi is the hardware.
yes, ma'am.
You have used Raspberry Pi, are you sure? No.
Ma'am, that's ma'am, you are asking like that?
But how you get these waveforms, in this software you have plotted these waveforms?
Ma'am, so ma'am, libraries, ma'am, data,
In Python, you have done Python coding.
Python, ma'am, so Cmon and Matplotlib,
Okay,
JavaScript.
okay, thank you.
Now, I would like to invite our esteemed guest, Dr. Gupta, to share the stage and give us some words of encouragement.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone. So first I would like to congratulate all the participants who have presented the paper and also to the organizer of this college, Professor Shalini Gupta, Professor V.C. Pandey, Professor Dr. Pradeep Kumar, everyone, Ma'am Sonia, everyone who has involved in organizing this conference. Because these kind of conferences are very good platform to share the research. Like I'm sure that you students are very, beginning in this field, है So you must gain some confidence when you are writing paper and you are presenting the paper. Like I was asking questions not to demoralize you, but to encourage you. Like you should be prepared, well prepared. Like you have to move in the industry, very short time. So regarding the research paper, I would like to advise some tips to all the students. When you are working in any field, yeah, the first thing is the theory must be very clear to you. Like I ask very basic questions, but the students are doing nowadays, they are just going on the, Python Kaggle software, they are importing the data and they are using the inbuilt libraries and they are running the code and they are just getting some results. So I think this is only 2 hours job to run a code in the on upload present software like Kaggle, etc. So or Google Colab because inbuilt functions are there. But I would like to advise you if you want to do something good, because when you are going in industry, suppose you are getting jobs of software development. Developer job is the best job I think in the computer science rather than testing or something. If you want to go in the development field, what you have to do? You have to develop something new softwares. It is not like this you are using inbuilt models only. How so many researches going on like ChatGPT, Google Maps, so many things are there. So how they are developing? They are the engineers only. If you go to the like in medical field also, like nowadays the medical field is so advanced because of the engineers only. Because diagnosis part is very important. Nowadays lots of research is going on like brain tumor, cancer detection, etc. So how it is happening? Because engineers are developing algorithms to analyze the data. Like in very beginning stage of the cancer or brain tumor, if you detect it, the disease can be cured. So detection is important. And who is doing the detection? Not doctors, they are doing the engineers because so many deep learning or this pattern analysis, data analysis is there. Micro tumor is diagnosed. How? Because of image analysis. There are so many advanced algorithms of image analysis. You can detect a micro cancer or brain tumor something at the initial stage. After that, doctor job is very important. They are giving line of treatment, some diagnosis, new medicines are developing there. But still, I will see that diagnosis part is very important and lots of research is going on in medical field. Because so many, advanced diseases are going on because of so many pollution and other things, etc., stress, etc. So, I would like to advise you all the participants and students of this college or from the outside that this is the best time. You should do research from the very scratch. Don't be in hurry. First, the theory should be very clear, like algorithm should be clear. If I will ask algorithm of any method, I don't think you will be able to answer because students are going in shortcut, they are in hurry. But if you want to something change in the algorithm, that will be the novelty. You should know each and every step of the algorithm so that you can apply some new changes and it will be novelty and it will be fruitful for the society. So please, but why the IIT is famous or big colleges? Because their teachers are so strict, you have to do something new. You have to do hard work from the very scratch for the theory part. Okay? So this is a small lecture. Don't take it as lecture because this is very important for you. Jobs are very important. No one is giving job. कि आपकी plate में fruit रखा होगा ले जाओ. You have to prove yourself that you will be beneficial for the company. Company will not pay you 40 lakh package or 50 lakh or 1 CR package. You have to prove yourself. How will you prove? ऐसा नहीं कि आपको एक प्लेटफॉर्म दे दिया टेस्टिंग करो बस आउटपुट आ गया. वो तो कोई भी 30,000 वाला स्टूडेंट भी कर लेगा. But if you want to earn more, you have to be very creative and you have to be very informative about the everything you are working on. Clear? So with this, good luck and thank you everyone. Now, there is one newspaper award also. Who is this one? I think paper ID 98 है ना ये देखना? Newspapers निकालो. 94. 94. Okay. This platform is only for the paper presentation, so all are welcome. एक और ले लेते हैं. तो अब तो अनाउंस हो गया दैट स्टूडेंट मे बी इसका ज्यादा अच्छा हो. लेट्स सी. सबकी अच्छी थे प्रेजेंटेशन. इट इज जस्ट आर यू नो ऐसा नहीं कि इसको बेस्ट पेपर अवार्ड मिलेगा उसी का अच्छा है. सब पेपर्स अच्छे थे. थोड़ा उस पे और काम करो. रियल टाइम में डिप्लॉय करो. ओके. हाँ.
A very good afternoon to the distinguished panel members, faculty and my fellow researchers. My name is Swati Sharma and I'm currently pursuing my ML. And it's been an honor for me to present my paper today at the International Conference on Emerging Application of Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning and Cybersecurity. The title of my paper is Leveraging Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning for 21st Century Skills Development, a paradigm shift in education and workforce transformation. This review investigates how AI and ML are no longer peripheral advancement, but central mechanisms that are redefining both educational practices and workforce expectations. With the evolving demands of the fourth industrial revolution, it imperates to examine how these technologies can support the development of adaptive, critical, and future-ready learners, particularly in the context of Indian schools. The structure of my presentation is as follows. I will begin with a contextual introduction, followed by an outline of the research gaps. Then I will be discussing the objectives, review key literature, and describe the research methodology adopted. This will lead into the work conducted and the resulting insights. Finally, I will present a critical discussion of the findings, followed by the conclusion and the references. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are playing a transformative role in the education sector by enabling personalization, enhancing learner engagement, and facilitating inclusive practices.
I think you can skip the introduction part, just come to your point.
Okay, let me start with the review one. Despite growing interest in AI and ML in education, their practical integration faces several barriers, which have been covered in the research gap. There is an absence of a structured, stable framework guiding their integration across educational systems. Rural and under-resourced areas have minimal access due to poor infrastructure and socio-economic disparities. Many educators lack the professional training and institutional support to effectively implement AI tools in the classrooms. AI interventions often fall short of being inclusive, neglecting learners from diverse backgrounds, including those with disabilities. Moving ahead with the objectives. The objectives, the first objective is to assess the current major implementation of AI and ML-based policies in Indian schools, focusing on both mainstream and special education sector. To explore how AI and ML can effectively leverage it to cultivate 21st century skills. To examine challenges such as ethical risk, infrastructural constraint, and emotional sensitivity, defeats that affect the adoption of AI in education. To highlight the practical application of AI in real world educational settings and identify existing gaps in implementation. The main part, the literature survey, increasing adopting of AI and ML in global education setting. However, applications remain varied and context dependent. In Vietnam, a study conducted at HCNUTE found that over 74% of students use ChatGPT for learning, through only 64% it's reliable, highlighting the importance of critical evaluation. AI-enhanced platforms like the Open Learning Initiatives enable learning to complete course 25% faster and intelligent tutoring systems involving academic gains by up to 2.5 times. Several case studies have been discussed all over the world. In the United States, tools like Georgia State Counts, Chatbot, and Waybot for mental health support have demonstrated measurable impacts. Additionally, the Help Me See app in Spain and AI scoring tools in Indian schools show that AI can contribute meaningfully to both inclusive education and feedback efficiency if supplemented with human oversight. In India, the CBSE stage-wise AI curriculum and ethics for the students of grades 6 to 8 have been implemented. If I talk about the methodology, the study employed a mixture of methods, research designs. Secondary data was drawn from scholarly articles, educational policy reports, and pilot project evaluation. Comparative and thematic analysis were used through real-world cases studies like ChatGPT, Wobot, Pounce Chatbot, Scotland app, and AI implementation under the Atal Innovation Mission and CBSE curriculum. The analysis focused on the transformation of educational experiences in terms of learning gains, inclusion scalability, and policy alignment ethical changes and emotional aspects of AI integration were also evaluated to produce a well-rounded understanding of its impact. The major work done are as follows. AI curricula in Indian schools were compared with higher education intervention in the US. Educator preparedness was examined, revealing significant gaps in rural. Educational preparedness was examined, revealing significant gaps in rural and low resources environments. AI-based tools for special education, such as mobility apps for visually impaired students, were analyzed for their accessibility and impact. Ethical frameworks such as UNESCO's Beijing Consequences were assessed, linking AI practicals to Sustainable Development Goal 4 on quality education. The study revealed several outcomes, starting with AI-enabled learning platforms like ITS improved academic performance like institutions such as ASU reporting an 18% increase in the pass rate. AI-assist platforms enable faster course completion and more efficient feedback loops. Students using tools like ChatGPT demonstrated increased engagement and motivation, though human oversight remained critical. In special education applications like Help Me See contributed to great accessibility and independence for students with visual impairments. Moving ahead with the discussion part, while the benefits of AI and ML in education are evident, several limitations persist as ethical concerns such as algorithm bias, data privacy, and the issue of AI hallucinations remain unresolved. Human correction is often necessary. Studies show that 40% of AI-generated responses require refinement, emotional support, which is essential in learning, and this cannot be fully replicated by machines. Students still prefer mentorship from human educators. Moreover, infrastructure constraints, high implementation costs, and binding digital divide contribute to hinder equitable access, and many AI systems are also trained on outdated or non-diverse data sets. Moving ahead in conclusion, this study affirms that AI and ML hold the potential to revolutionize education by enhancing personalized, increasing engagement, and promoting inclusion. However, the full realization of this potential depends on the creation of ethical, equitable, and human-centered integration framework. Without these, there is a risk of deepening existing inequalities and aligning vulnerable learners. The way forward must be collaborative and multi-sectoral. Investment in infrastructure, teacher training programs, ethical policies, and continuous evaluation will be essential. AI should not replace educators, but should augment human insight and compassion together. They can form the foundation of a truly transformative educational model. Follow up with the references. Let me close with a guiding thought from the research. Technology can amplify education, but only human insight can truly transform it. When guided by mindful adoption, AI becomes a bridge to equitable development and collective advancement. Thank you everyone. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you everyone.
Yes, Swati, good presentation.
Thank you.
So this is a long discussion, either the AI is boon or bane.
Exactly, and specifically with the context of Indian school education system and how AI and ML can actually make an impact in our classrooms to help the child.
Nowadays, we are giving assignment to the students, but they do whatever work they are giving, they are preparing those reports within a hour.
With AI
Because
generated models.
everyone
And
initially students used to search the books and have multiple resources, but nowadays the things are going very easy. I don't know it is good or bad.
that comes under the research gap, that is comes pros and cons, that actually motivating students, increasing the pass rate percentages. But again, the ethical and the other data discrepancy things come.
That the user has to take care that they take the advantages of AI, not the disadvantages of it. This is depending upon the user.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Drawing book, there is one more author is there, Hannah.
Yes.
Recently, he or she has.
Now I would like to invite paper ID 638 Vinesh Sharma for the presentation. Vinesh Sharma.
Yes.
And you could present the best presenter. Thank you.
So you can come. Paper ID 94 Dushyant Kumar. So you are the only author of this paper?
This was actually a team of my SRH team of 6 authors, and we collaborated one person.
So this best paper award goes to all the 6 authors, okay?
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Pradeep Singh to kindly come forward and present the certificate of appreciation to our esteemed guest, Dr. Rashmi Gupta, for their valuable contribution to the conference. Round of applause, everyone.
to our keynote speaker, Dr. Biswajit Mukherjee, and our director, Dr. V.C. Pandey sir, and respected faculty members, esteemed researchers, and students. We request all the dignitaries to please have a seat on the dais.
It is with great pleasure and a sense of honor that we welcome you all to the second day of the third International Conference on Emerging Applications of Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning, Cybersecurity 2025, a confluence of bright minds, groundbreaking ideas, and cutting-edge innovations.
Before we begin, let me share a quote that captures the spirit of this gathering. The future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it. It's not something we enter, it's something we create, said by Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. We are privileged to have among us scholars, industry experts, and thought leaders who are shaping the future through their research, vision, and commitment.
At this moment, it is our distinct honor to introduce one such distinguished academician, Dr. Biswajit Mukherjee, Associate Professor of Electrical Engineering at the prestigious University of Delhi.
Dr. Mukherjee is recognized for his deep expertise in electrical engineering, and his contributions to both teaching and research have been truly commendable. He completed his B.Tech from HMR Institute of Technology and Management, followed by an M.Tech from the University of Delhi, and later earned his PhD from IIT Bombay, an academic path marked by excellence at every step.
Beyond his scholarly achievements, Sir is deeply committed to nurturing the next generation of engineers and researchers, encouraging critical thinking, innovation, and ethical leadership. Today, we are honored to have him address us, and we are confident his words will add great value to the conversation we aim to foster during this conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, now let's welcome Dr. Biswajit Mukherjee to address us with his thoughtful words.
Good afternoon, everybody. I really do not know that whether I'm breaking the momentum or I'm trying to make it up, because I think we are all pretty. What I can make out from the faces that people are trying to rush for the lunch hour, whereas it was actually scheduled for 10 o'clock in the morning. But thankfully, or unfortunately, whatever it is, the time lapse was actually beyond anybody's support. However, I consider this occasion, this particular moment when the time has actually lapsed, and instead of 10 o'clock that I'm starting at 12:30, to be a very big boon today, specifically with the aim when we look on to the fact that we are celebrating this international conference on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And why do I quote it? Despite the fact that most of you must be a little agitated that the morning rush hour, at the peak of the hour, the traffic was totally blown up to its extremities. The fact that many of us had to look up for alternate routes, the fact that there were a lot of honking vehicles all around, I still call it to be a very fortunate course of an event for this particular conference. And why do I actually say that? Number one, if you have ever studied one of the critical book written by Professor Tyagarajan. It talks about telecommunication engineering. And when the traffic theory builds up, it starts off with something called as Markov chains. So when you actually enter onto the road, right from your house, you take out your car and you are actually onto the road, you actually see how the traffic builds up. So that is the first level understanding that you get, that what is written in the book is practically applicable. The second and the most important thing, which is relevant to the conference. If you have driven down to this college, I am sure many of you might have used Google Maps. And I think that is my answer. Why do I particularly say Google Maps? Which is where the artificial intelligence and ML eventually has to jump in. And what is so beautiful or what is so tanky about it? Why do I call it that it is scholarly? At the same time, it needs a lot of learning and a lot of resources actually still need to be pumped into the areas of AI and ML. So I have been coming to this college for, as has been said during the introduction also, that I'm from the pioneer batch of this particular college. So 2003, when this college started off, 2003 to 2007, we used to come here. Let me tell you, number one, the roads have altogether changed. And when I was driving down, I really could not make out that, what is the road to my own college, where I used to actually, visit for almost where I visited for 4 years straight. Second thing, the moment I placed it on Google Maps, it redirected me through different routes. What kind of routes? Data structures, many of you must have studied, and there are a beautiful set of algorithms that many of you have come across. Shortest path first, best time, etc., etc. There are plenty of such algorithms that you've come across, which is what even Google Map is doing. And that actually landed me onto a road which was down with 2 feet of water, and my wagoner literally had to swim through it and pass. Now that is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And that is where we actually need to get down to training of our sequences. You are intelligent, very good. But are you that trained? Are you trained for that particular intelligence? Because me as a human intelligence, yes, I know that possibly there is a 2 feet down water. The moment chases of my car hits the floor, the car will actually break down. That's very evident. But Google, is it being trained to that level? Google Map, has it been trained to that level? Has the training set been given to it? That remains a very big question, and which is why I start off by welcoming all of you to the most relevant part of the conference, which we have possibly, inadvertently we've actually faced today. If you have used Google Maps today morning, okay. But that's definitely not a part of my talk. I am not going to talk about anything about Google Maps anymore. That was just the introductory part where I wanted to connect to all my audience. My personal specialization comes from electromagnetics, microwaves and antennas, which is where I have specialized. I have worked out for almost 16 years, 2009 onwards, ever since I did my MTech. And in areas when you talk about electromagnetics, microwaves and antennas, people love to work out with one of the most typical set of subjects or something where people like to disalign themselves, and that is integral differential equations. Why? Because genesis of anything and everything comes with the 4 candid Maxwell's equations, which are already hyperbolic and cross-coupled. And to find out a direct solution of Maxwell's equations, next to impossible. You cannot find out a direct solution to Maxwell's equations. So I come from that domain. If we have these integral differential equations, which none of us would like to solve, and let me give a very honest and candid submission again, a confession, even I do not like to sit with a question paper and an answer sheet which actually asks me to solve some of these differential equations. Not pretty habituated of the same either. Then where does the artificial intelligence and machine learning, if ever, even if we try to aim for, would actually contribute to this particular domain? And what is the opportunities which are in existence with the artificial intelligence and machine learning in the areas of this unknown set of a communication which is electromagnetics? So let me bring you to that particular point. Just, it is always pretty traditional that you should always thank all your funding agencies who support you for whatever research that you particularly pick up. So out of the list of all these projects, I always I try to thank all my external funding agencies who supported my research. The Department of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Science and Technology, the National Council of Education, Research and Training, and the last one where I'm actually executing a project with the Ministry of Telecommunication, which is for Bharat 6G, with the aim that we can roll out our own standards of 6G communication so forth, where we are actually trying to develop and devise some new terahertz antennas for personal area networks which can be created. Okay, so let's actually talk about a little bit about what electromagnetic spectrum is, and which is where we find out, which is where we would actually like to land up and find out that where would the prudence of artificial intelligence and machine learning would contribute. If I look onto any of the electromagnetic spectrum, we begin with radio waves, which is the first set of communications that we come across. All of you must be using radio signals. I'm sure you might be listening to either Radio Mirchi or Red FM or some of the other stations. That is typically operating in the frequency of 88 to 103 megahertz. And then you can go on. The electromagnetic spectrum actually builds up, it goes right up to the visible spectrum, goes to X-rays, gamma rays, cosmic rays, anything and everything. That will all remain formulative with the electromagnetic spectrum, and all of them will follow in tandem the same set of principles with just one variance. The moment I am going higher in terms of the frequencies, which is typically beyond the optical range, there has to be a very line of sight contact between my transmitter and receiver. And that's why I quote the complete calculations or the mathematical formulations to be deterministic in nature. And when I'm in the lower set of frequencies, it is more of probability theory. So when you're looking onto the probability theory, why do I particularly again quote it? Because if I have a radio receiver right now with me, I need not know where the transmitter is. That can be up, down, left, right, 1 kilometer far off, 2 kilometers far off, 10 kilometers far off, just doesn't make a difference to me. Because end of the day, I'm still able to receive some signals because of refractions, diffraction, whatever physical scattering is eventually taking place, I'm still able to receive the signals. But of course, the transmitter need not be connected to me directly. But when I go higher in terms of the frequencies, I'm going towards beyond the visible rays. Beyond the visible spectrum, I need to know where is the transmitter. So if I have, let's say, a laser and I flash it on any of the walls, it is evident that the laser will not penetrate through the wall and it will not move to the second room or the adjacent room. Very evident, right? But radio signals can penetrate through. So we have a certain probability in which the propagation phenomena will eventually take place. When it is deterministic, when I know that my complete calculation, light is going to travel in a straight line and it is more of deterministic in nature, things are pretty straightforward and cut to cut. But when there is a probability, the fact that there is some transmitter placed somewhere, I am a receiver which is, let's say, co-located at some place which is not in sync or not in direct line of contact with the transmitter, there is always a challenge that the signal may or may not be received. And on top of it, there is a strong apprehension that when I devise or when I work out with the design simulations of the components which are needed for these radio frequency spectrum will become even more challenging. Why? Because if I change the physical parameter of any of the components, whether that's an antenna, whether that's the filters that I'm using, any of even the oscillators or anything, a small change of delta will eventually change the complete parameters of the output. I might not be able to get the signals which are in sync with the radio signals. It might just move up to either microwave or it might just scale down. So again, anything and everything becomes extremely probabilistic in nature, and this is where the artificial intelligence actually needs to jump in. Because if there is a probability, I have innumerous number of optimization which I have to do. Optimization of all the physical characteristics, optimization of the medium characteristics, optimization of my channel, optimization of the device components, optimization of the dimensions of each of these components, optimization of all the components which are connected and interconnected to make the whole system. So optimization at each of these levels again becomes a pretty cumbersome task, and so I again go back to my opening statement that I would not like to solve the integral differential equations pretty evidently at every point of time to find out the exact dimension of my system or the components that I'm trying to design. So let me take the help of this artificial intelligence and machine learning so that can AI and ML at the same time speed up the optimization and also take care of accuracy. Two things which can go simultaneously and hand in hand. So the typical key applications of AI and ML in electromagnetics would remain with component level understanding, that can be an antenna parameter also. Gone are the days when we actually used to have a Yagi-Uda antenna. Has anybody ever tried to look onto what the erstwhile Yagi-Uda antennas used to be? So again you had to put it onto some sort of a rusted iron pole, and then you had to again change it altogether towards the direction of the TV tower or the transmission tower. So again, you don't use those wired antennas, you don't use any of those hollow antennas which actually existed. This is the age of mobile phone wherein we are working out on planar technology. When you're looking onto the planar structures, the kind of dimension that you are now looking for is both two-dimensional as well as into the multi-layer, on which you are printing the complete circuit. So the optimization again needs to be done for the physical dimension of the antenna as well as all the substrates on which I'm actually printing this complete PCB or I'm printing the complete component. That again needs to be optimized. One of the key essentials or takeaways of the electromagnetics is computational electromagnetics, wherein I need not solve the rigorous integral differential equations or differential integral equations. Let me actually sort it out into some level of numerical techniques and try to get my exact set of solutions. So again, when I break up the computational techniques, I've got a variation which starts from something which is boundary element method, where I'm rather more interested to know that what is happening only across the boundary, and to something which is higher up in terms of the accuracy, that can be finite elementing. Again, the trouble is speed versus accuracy. If you have a very high speed simulator or a solver, obviously the accuracy is extremely low. And if you have a very high accuracy that you get from your respective simulator or solver, obviously the time taken will be extremely large. So then you have to end up working out with some sort of a workstation or maybe a cluster or maybe a supercomputer. That is again another set of a challenge. How do you jag up the resources altogether? So there are some solutions which are even coming up with quantum computing. So I'm sure many of you must have actually seen how the maze game is eventually solved by quantum computing rather than working out with the conventional strategy of the shortest path first algorithm which we actually use in data structures. And it has been pretty evidently proved that quantum computing is still giving us faster results compared to the classical techniques. So again, AI and ML which will work out at the back end is working out with the aim that you jack up the speed, that is the time taken is to be reduced, and you can also increase the accuracy level of the computations that we are trying to achieve. That is one of the key areas that that is eventually being taken care of. One of the again important part where most of the electromagnetics people will be trying to talk of is inverse scattering. So let's say if I leave a simple pen or a pencil on the table and I flash a certain light on it. So we will not say that there is a scattering which is taking place. Any light which is coming back to me is a part of the inverse scattering process. So every body, interestingly, every body is now an inverse scatterer. And so to find out that how much of scattering is eventually taking place by every object becomes extremely crucial. Why do I particularly quote it? Can anybody just help me out with what is the typical dimension of your mobile phone? What is the typical dimension that you're getting? So diagonal element of diagonally, if you just check out the mobile phone, what is the approximate dimension?
6.1.
6.1. What is the unit, SI unit? 6.1 inches. So how much that in terms of centimeters? How much does that turn out to be in centimeters? Something like 12, 15, close to 15, right? So that's 15 centimeters. Okay, if I have 1 gigahertz of operating frequency, I'm roughly taking it as 1 gigahertz, which is 10 to the power of 9 hertz. What is the wavelength that I typically get for 10 to the power of 9 hertz? If just as a quick calculation, so if I have, let's say, 10 to the power of 9 hertz, which is 1 gigahertz of operation, what is the typical wavelength that I am getting? It is 30 centimeter, right? Now, if I have this 15 centimeter phone, my mobile phone, kept in an electromagnetic environment, which is 1 gigahertz of operation, pretty evident for all the mobile operators, what would that do? If I go back to fundamental physics, scattering. Any object which is either of the size of the wavelength or smaller than the size of the wavelength will actually act as a scatterer. So a simple object like mobile phone which I'm actually carrying with me is also acting as a scatterer for the electromagnetic environment. And that's where lies the complication. When I'm designing the complete mobile network, I have to ensure that how many scatterers I have in that complete mobile domain or the hexagonal lattice that I'm going to create. Whether that's at the lattice level, which is basically the cellular level, or maybe if you can go back, you just scale it up to backhaul scattering also, or the backhaul network that you're designing. Scatterers are always to be taken into account. I have not considered so far any of the clutters, which is the building, edge of the building, or any sort of diffractors that we have. I'm not considering that only. A simple object like mobile phone, and we've got plenty of such objects in our wonderful set of bag. If you keep opening it, you'll find something or the other which is actually acting as a scatterer. Now when you are doing the complete design of the system as well as component, my biggest challenge is how do I optimize these dimensions? Which is where I actually try to look up for the AI or the ML algorithms to come to the physical dimension optimization. That's one of the things. And why particularly scattering is important, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Then again, you've got either some smart EM environments, intelligent reflective surfaces, wherein people are trying to do a lot of, if you've come across Harry Potter's cloak, I'm sure many of you must have seen Harry Potter movie. So cloak is one of the classical examples where we are trying to go ahead in order to camouflage ourselves from the physical environment of our enemy in a friend and a foe situation. Signal processing people obviously are using the AI and ML techniques in their own respective domains to expedite the processing capabilities. And obviously you're trying to look onto the electromagnetic compatibility of each of the devices that we have, which we are actually carrying. And why do I actually say again EMC becomes so very critical? Let's say I leave my mobile phone, which is a simple metal casing, on any of the objects that can be even a table. And if I just try to find out that typically what is the amount of current that builds up, the moment the EM wave interacts with this mobile phone surface, it turns out that the transient current is exponentially high. And if you practically try to map it, it's extremely large value that actually comes up. And my biggest problem is the moment you've got such a high value of current that actually distributes itself over the complete platform or the complete surface area, the object is obviously going to be damaged. And why do I say that either it is damaged or it is going to remain saturated? My receive power level is extremely low. So if you people just check out your mobile phones, you will find that your receive power level is anything between minus 120 dBm or minus 150 dBm, so on and so forth. And suddenly if there is a current surge, which is typically of the order of 10 ampere or maybe 10 milliampere or so, it's actually going to damage your complete mobile phone. So you have to ensure that the casing itself is electromagnetically decoupled. It has to be decoupled properly. So that's why the compatibility and interference issues, that also has to be taken care of. Primarily because, again, it is not known to me that where does this signal eventually come from, or from which direction would the EM signal actually come to me. So, what will be the typical advantages when we work out with any of these AI and ML? One of them obviously is understanding in terms of the time. The time and frequency complexity will actually reduce. The simulation times, whenever we are trying to look up for any sort of an alternative, would actually come down. Accuracy at the same time, because the key trouble is if you go by conventional mathematics, if you improve the accuracy, obviously the time taken will be more. If you lower down the accuracy level, time taken will be much less. But if you want both of them to be higher in terms of their standards, that is where we are trying to look up for certain algorithms, whether that is machine trained or whether that is at the AI level. And of course, the automated task and high-level, high-dimensional spaces that actually need to be worked out. When I'm looking for automated task is that, let's say I want to design some sort of an antenna for, let's say, one industrial production purpose, and I know that this is a fixed set of a frequency and a fixed design that will be rolled out. So can I create an ML generated algorithm which will give me the complete dimension of this particular antenna, so that the complete task now becomes automated. So that is one of the ways where we are actually looking for possible set of solutions of AI and ML in the electromagnetics domain, so that we can foster the industrial production of each of these components to be taken care of. Otherwise, if you start working out with optimization of each of the dimension, the time actually just blows up. It will just blow out into an infinite set of a sequence. The biggest challenge and the future direction would be, first is the data availability. Like I started off, that in the domain of the electromagnetics or antenna theory or the associated electronics, the biggest trouble is we people generally refrain from working out with AI and ML algorithms because we want more accuracy. When you're looking for more accuracy, I would like to solve the integral differential equations. But can I create a complete trained data set which is an absolute open and niche area wherein you can provide the training to the machine and generate the dimensions accordingly? That is one of the challenges that we are trying to look up for. Second is this model the interpretability. What we are actually looking up is that if I create, let's say, a model for one particular domain or one particular environment, can that be interoperability be used in another set of an environment? Now, many of you might have actually come across, Kodak started off with cameras. From analog, this came down to digital cameras, and then from digital, they came down to something which was very new. And most of these advertisements also, they used to actually talk of it, that the water resistance of the cameras and all these electronic equipments like your wristwatches or maybe mobile phone can be up to 60 mm down, 90 mm down, so on and so forth. So what are we actually referring to? That if there is a change of medium, can the electronic circuit still work out or interoperable in two different set of environments? That is one thing again we are trying to harp on, that if suddenly there's a change in temperature, your physical parameters, that is temperature, pressure, so on and so forth. India is a huge nation. You can go from Thar in the west and you can go right to the north, which is typically again snow-led mountains altogether. Pressure, temperature, everything changes. So if the physical parameters change, will my object or will my device under test behave in the same way? And that is where the AI and ML eventually comes up. So the moment there is a rainfall in the roads, the water logging is already so high, so the data has to be trained that for this particular path, if there is a chance that there is a water logging that will take place, let's give an alternative route. That training is essential even in electromagnetics. If I change the environment of operation of my circuits, will the performance characteristic, reliability and testing remain the same? That remains as one of the open-ended areas, and which is equally applicable at both the hardware as well as at the software end. And why do I particularly write it down, or put it as a quote, that remark, that why at hardware as well as at the software end? Because if you're working out with extremely low temperature of reception, which we generally do with satellite communications, there we actually need to receive the signals typically at the temperatures of 15 Kelvin or 20 Kelvin. When you are specifically in some deep space network, the temperature levels actually have to hit the cryogenic levels. So if you are changing the physical parameters to the level of cryogenics, do we have the models which will operate at cryogenic as well as standard temperature and pressure? These all remain as the open-ended problems where AI and ML's contribution in the electromagnetics and the allied areas remains always an open challenge. So these are some of the future directions which actually I have talked of pretty evidently, where the avenues are always open, where people can contribute, and they can always give, and they can actually generate their own trained data set and can have their own copyright also. Because not a lot of work is actually done in the electromagnetics domain, it's pretty evident and open. So contribution from people is extremely prudent at this stage. It's very open and a niche area where people should contribute. So future directions are always open, right from the radio frequency to whatever frequency that you actually want to talk of in the electromagnetic spectrum. So I always thank all my collaborators, starting with all my PhD students and the places where we are actually collaborating at SAC Ahmedabad, the Department of Science and Technology, and some of my friends from BITS Pilani who have always been contributing for Bharat 6G mission also. In fact, if you just check out the roadmap of 6G, it essentially talks of electronic components which are AI and ML driven. And when you're talking about electronic components, you have to escalate higher in terms of the frequencies, that is terahertz and beyond. Because we're actually going towards the terahertz, millimeter wave terahertz, and the optical frequencies to explore more for the 6G applications. And what government is eventually fostering at every point of time is, please create your own patents. So when we have an area where AI and ML has not been used, whatever work that you actually do will remain patentable. So my honest submission at this point to all the researchers, right from the student community to those who are avid researchers, please do look up for application areas in electromagnetic domain, because it's absolutely a niche area where people really need to contribute and build up their own standards altogether, which is the Bharat 6G mission with which the government has actually come up with. Right. So with this, I'll just call off. Thank you so much for your patience listening, and I'm open to any questions.
Sir, what is the impact of high frequency uses as 5G concern is there, as far as the frequency is going to increase?
On a very clear scientific term, as of now, I'll tell that as of now, I can come down to the fact that there is no research which has actually been carried out. If you're looking for biological implications,
Yes, please.
there is no written scientific record which says that there will be a biological effect because of escalation in the frequencies. That is not there. Having said that, I will not rule out the possibility. For this, just one simple reason. Let's say if I pick up my hand and I move it or maybe oscillate it once in 1 second, that is typically 1 hertz of my frequency. If I now move it typically 10 to the power of 9 times, that is 1 gigahertz, obviously 1 gigahertz is a very high frequency. And what do I expect? That the human body, which is now oscillating at 1 gigahertz of frequency, will generate me some sort of a heat, which is evidently being used with microwave oven. So I will not rule out the possibility of the high frequency application, but as of now, no written record has actually come up, because by the time biological mutations are taking place, it's a very overlong process. So no written record has come so far. And there is another perspective to that question, which is power. to what power level you are actually, exposing yourself. So obviously, if you are at a very high power level of typically 10 watts or hundreds of kilowatts, then the effects are obviously going to be very high. But if it is, in an accepted range, it can go on. Again, interesting thing. IEEE in its definition and standardization for the use of mobile phones has said you can operate the mobile phones for communication not more than for 10 minutes. Unfortunately, this does not happen. There's a beautiful, I should be saying that it's a kind of a joke that is there on Facebook when a mother is speaking to her married daughter, when a husband is speaking to the wife or the son is speaking to his mother, we actually break this norm of 10 minutes. The communication typically goes up to 1 hour, 2 hours, so on and so forth. I'm not getting biased, but that's actually the trouble, that when we go on a mobile communication, we tend to forget that what is the time span that you are spending on the mobile phone. So power along with time has to be taken into account when we are creating the high frequency standards. That is evidential.
So there are many AI models which are more suitable for electromagnetic field.
In fact, that's why I said I've not talked about the AI model very specifically.
There are various models, AI models.
Yes, it is there.
Not very well. Which model is very suitable?
Which model is suitable? You have to come up with that and tell me that which model is actually suitable for what particular application. So that's why I said. See, I am not very specifically from the AI or ML background. That's why I said I am kept it open.
You don't expect any application. So I asked this question for you. You can expect any application.
See, that's what I am asking. That's what I said.
Working on it.
No, you work even with generic algorithm also if you pick up. Any generic algorithm also if you pick up, that will also give you some solutions. The point is not that. That is what I am actually coming down to, sir. Half an hour is actually not the time span where I will be able to come down to one of the models. You give me 1 hour, I will definitely come down to that.
One question I would like to say, that you told that solving Maxwell equation is extremely difficult. When we were a student, then it was very difficult for partial differentiation and A equation, higher order differential equations and all. Is it need of the hour to redefine the syllabus of mathematics when there are so many, higher order calculus and partial differentiation and difficult integration are losing relevance in AI and ML models?
Sir, I actually have, again, there is a kind of a division in the two. There is a bias. Let me, take both the perspectives. If you go by classical understanding, Maxwell's equation cannot be ruled out, because that's actually the foundation of working out with any sort of an electromagnetic spectrum. Wherever you want to work, whether you want to talk about Hertz experiment, you want to talk about wireless communication, it has to be there. So solution of, which is the full wave solutions, they are important. The requirement is that when we are actually moving very fast in terms of our communication strategies, looking up for terahertz and beyond the range, where the requirement of component and system level build-up is very, very large. So if we go by the classical methods, it will take a huge time only to find out the exact values of the dimensions which need to be worked out. There we are actually looking for speeding up the process. So we are coming down to computational electromagnetics, which is where the AI and ML techniques can actually help us out. That is one thing which we are evidently looking for.
So again, the question is saying, is it there needed that redefine the syllabus of first year and first semester? Anybody from mathematics background? क्योंकि ज़्यादातर बच्चे मैथ्स में फेल हो जाते हैं.
Again, like
by
I
virtue
said,
of these traditional mathematical models, higher order calculus and mathematics. So, is there some For example, numerical methods and computational mathematics. That should be taught rather than teaching a student the difficult Maxwell equation and all.
Without doing basic of algebra 1 to 3, you cannot actually proceed in any concept beyond. That is one thing. But when you are talking about, when you are looking up for application standards, I think we can remove some of the portions which are rudimentary. That can be actually worked out. That can be worked out. So again, if you look at the computer science as a complete stream, ISI Calcutta actually deals, the complete system of ISI altogether, it deals with the rudimentary mathematics. They still talk about the statistics. But when it comes to engineering and technology, that's why they call it computer science. But when it comes to engineering and technology, they're not talking about the rudimentary mathematics. So the technology perspective is different. So if you're looking from technical perspective, yes, we can remove some part of it.
Some part.
Yes, we can. So, any questions? Just to answer your question, I would like to share my paper of frequency selective surfaces with the generic algorithm with you after this part. I'll actually share it with you. It is already there. We have already done some work in that area.
सर लेकिन ट्राइलिंग तो एक बार स्टॉप कर दिया था सर 5G की जो मतलब टेस्टिंग थी उसको ट्राई
I will tell you that also. That also had stopped. You're correct. That was actually done during COVID time, and specifically जो second वाला outbreak आया था of COVID, that was because there was a test bed in Andhra Pradesh which was created, which was speculated to be the origin of the second variant, the beta variant of COVID. The only trouble is there is still no fixed written record that these set of frequencies actually led to the genesis of the beta version of the COVID SARS virus. There was no written record which actually went into the support. So that is where try again had to kneel down.
Actually, most of the people don't know about how the microwave works. तो वो उनको vibrations का नहीं पता सर और वो जो है काफी इस बारे में पता करना चाहते हैं. So many times जो है ना वो कहते हैं कैंसरस है और ये है वो है तो कई बार उनको बताते हैं कि वो वर्क कैसे कर रहा है molecules को कैसे वाइब्रेट कर रहा है क्या frequency.
So again there is a certain area of bioelectromagnetics. If you want, let's say spondylosis, so you do give a microwave therapy. So there are biomedical applications. Again we come down to the same solution. Power level is very essential. To what power level you are actually exposing yourself. That is very essential. So if you expose yourself to a very high power, obviously sir, अभी तो किसी चीज की अच्छी नहीं होती. Too much of anything is not good. That's it. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and thought-provoking address. We are truly grateful for the knowledge and perspective you have shared with us today.
Now, I would like to invite our director, Dr. B.C. Pandey sir, to present memento to the keynote speaker, Dr. Biswajit Mukherjee sir.
I would like to say a few words. First of all, I'm thankful to Mr. Suki for sparing his valuable time to his alma mater we should be proud of, that our students are doing excellent work. Our students are doing excellent work in the field of science and technology. And I would like to add one more thing. There are so many conventional models, and this generative AI will help you to redefine those models. And this is an opportunity for each of you. सबके पास अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि make a student group, find out certain models that was conventionally derived, and use some generative or some very traditional AI to redefine those models. So there is a huge scope, बहुत बड़ा स्कोप है रिसर्च का, क्योंकि बहुत सारे बच्चे आते हैं कि हम करें क्या. So there are a lot of things to be done, because you can revisit the traditional models and apply this LLM or this generative models, or sometimes maybe traditional. So this is an opportunity for all computer science students. You just target, find out the topic of your interest, and read the, immense literature is there. Immense work has already been done. Take that model and use the open it, and then redefine, and then find out what will this modified model, with the help of what you talk about the 6G. It is nothing deal with the frequency and all. It is deal with the incorporating AI and ML in earlier generation of 5G or 4G. That is. अदरवाइज तो 3G में तो सारा 3G तक तो पूरा जो आपका इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक फ्रीक्वेंसी वेवलेंथ ये सारी चीजें आ जाती हैं. नाउ यू आर यूजिंग, तो 6G की बात कर रहे हैं, तो इट इज द incorporating AI, ML and other techniques in those electromagnetic systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your exceptional words. We ask our respected dignitaries to please proceed for lunch in the conference room. The participants are requested to proceed to room number 105 for the same. I kindly request everyone to attend the sessions at their respective time and sites. We will meet for technical session at 2 p.m. in 101 only, and we will meet again